Rocket was so silent.
Ready.
Okay. Looks like we have a couple people online and at least one counselor online. I will call this special meeting of the Ridgway Town Council, Wednesday, April 29, 25 to order, and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilors Grambly,
I'm here.
Kroger,
Here.
Montague,
Here.
Schuyler,
At the end of the table.
Scoville is not present. Mayor Pro Tem Lathan
Here.
and Mayor Clark.
Here. Thanks, everybody. We have two action items on the agenda tonight, the special meeting. First one is notice of award for construction manager at risk, parentheses CMAR, for the Beaver Creek Diversion Restoration Project. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thanks everybody who's joined for making time this evening for this special meeting. I'm going to read quite a bit. A lot of this is from the staff report that's in the packet, but just want to make sure we're pretty thorough with the background and how we got to this point. Back in March, the town issued an RFP for construction manager at risk, CMAR for short, for the Beaver Creek Diversion Restoration Project. That RFP sought proposals from firms to provide pre-construction procurement and construction services using the CMAR construction delivery method. The selected CMAR is going to work with us at the town and the RESPEC team. Remember, RESPEC is our engineering team. Throughout the duration of the project, proposals were due on April 17th. In all, the town received 4 proposals, one from JHL Constructors, one from Kistner General Contractors, Inc., one from Meridian Contracting, Inc., and one from Myers and Sons Construction, LLC. Town staff, members of town staff and the RESPEC design engineering team collectively reviewed the proposals and interviewed 2 of those firms. They were JHL Constructors and Meridian Contracting, Inc. The panel that interviewed those 2 firms included myself, Joanne Fagan, longtime engineer for the town, and then 4 members of the RESPEC team, one of which is on Zoom. That's Alan Leak, principal in charge with RESPEC. Alan, thanks for joining tonight. Based on the quality of the proposals and the interviews, all the criteria outlined in the RFP, the results of a very thorough reference checking process, the interview team that I just listed is recommending that the town council award the CMAR contract for the Beaver Creek Diversion Restoration Project to Meridian Contracting, Inc., Meridian for short. We have Mark Sutton, president of Meridian, and Tyler Davis, the Colorado area manager with Meridian, joined on Zoom. Thanks for joining, guys. And there's someone else with you. Sorry, I don't know your name yet, but appreciate y'all being here, and I'll let you all introduce yourselves in a few minutes. A little bit more about Meridian, and they can tell you, but they were founded in 2003, and they've successfully delivered some pretty complex, heavy civil and industrial projects across states in the western part of the U.S. They can tell you some about the clients they've worked for, and that's listed in the staff report. They have a corporate office in Tucson, regional office in Albuquerque, and they have a local office in Olathe. I can talk a little bit about the CMAR as an alternative project delivery method, which is much different than the traditional design build. There's a narrative in the staff report about CMAR and what that entails. I will spare all those details. I'm happy to answer any questions, but if you all have any questions about it, please ask, because it's quite different than the traditional way we approach or have been approaching projects in the past few years and for a long time. And that's largely because of the type of project we're trying to undertake here. But again, happy to answer any questions about CMAR as a construction delivery method. All that said, I need to modify the recommended motion that you all see in the staff report. The recommendation is to award pre-construction services to Meridian Contracting, Inc. via a pre-construction services agreement, or something of the sort. And the hope and the aim, of course, is to come back to this board at around 60% design, or when we have a guaranteed maximum price around 60% design to award construction services to the same company, of course, Meridian. So that wasn't clear in the staff report. My apologies for that. I just wanted to make sure for the record that that is the recommendation here, and that would track with how CMARs work. Alan, I see you there. And then of course, Mark, Tyler. Alan, do you have anything to add? And I think Joanne might be on the phone. Joanne, you there?
Yes,
Great, thanks for being here. Joanne, anything to add?
I think that'll cover it. I think at the 60% point, we get a price for the project and then decide on the next steps.
And Alan?
Yeah, Preston. So the only thing I will add is that I was impressed with Meridian's qualifications, their preparedness for providing a proposal for this project itself. I think it's important that, they have some local people who will be working on the project itself. They understand the site, they understand issues about dewatering. I thought those were all important issues, and most important to myself and my team is to have a partner that we can work towards and together to deliver a quality project for the town. And I believe Meridian and ourselves will be able to do that.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, thanks for saying that. And it's a very competitive process, goes without saying. And yeah, thanks, Alan, for being part of the vetting process as we got to this point. Any questions from?
Yeah,
council?
just a little question about the CMAR process. So because we're going into it with this being the idea, we don't have to do a full bid process at the 60% or wherever. Once we have the guaranteed maximum, we can just go ahead and award it to Meridian. We don't have to do a RFP. It's in our procurement policy.
That's a great question. And in the way I understand CMAR, we don't have to do that,
Okay.
given that as long as we haven't, Joanne, I don't know what you keep saying, but you say as long as we haven't hit the off button and decided to go a different route, or taken the off ramp, I think is what she says, and decided to go a different route. I think it's our prerogative to continue down the path with the contractor we've selected here. Of course, the hope and the aim is to do that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just want to make sure we're following all of our procedures.
Joanne, I mean, is that fair? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think the competitive part of the process was in selecting Meridian through the qualification-based process we just went through.
Okay, thank you.
It sounds to me like basically that the GMP hasn't been determined yet.
Correct.
If at the time that's determined at say 50–60%, we decide that that number doesn't work for us, then that's when I'm assuming the off ramp would come into play. We might have to go back out to bid, but we're hoping that that wouldn't have to happen.
Right, yeah, and there's some other variables too,
Yeah.
right? Just not, happy with performance or whatever, it's not gonna happen, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's other pieces too, but yeah, GMP is there, that's right.
And what's the reason we're doing CMAR versus our typical things, like the cost and transparency and such?
Design good, I mean,
Cost, the trajectory of the project, the need to get it done sooner rather than later, it really fits that bill for something different than, I keep referring to your traditional design build where, the next item on the agenda is your traditional design build where you get construction level documents and then you go out to bid to hire someone to make it happen. We need something to happen yesterday. So getting a contractor on board to help inform the design and do all the other pieces that are kind of laid out and detailed in the staff report is going to go a long way for this project.
So is the final cost available at a 60% design?
Essentially.
The guaranteed maximum price, there can be one. You're gonna. I don't know, Alan, Joanne, you guys can probably talk to it, or y'all can probably talk to it much better than I can, but certainly we can have something in place by around, the 60% mark, which is what we've honed in on. Will it be modified from there? Certainly, based on some other things
Not
that.
to exceed at that point. kind of arrangement. Is that
Right,
okay?
more or less.
So if I understood your modification, the motion would read something like, I move to issue a pre-construction services up to 60% design and the rest for the CMAR would be approved. So
I think it would just be pre-construction services, because that could go through 90% or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, you don't need to talk about the percent number because it's not determined yet.
well, then I'll move to,
We need to hear from,
We're not ready.
Sorry to interrupt, Terry, but Alan, you had unmuted yourself. I just want to make sure that if you had something substantive to say, that you get that out on the record.
Yeah, I think what was really important here is the timing, and you hit on it, Preston, that if we went with a design bid build, we could not get a design done until sometime in July. It usually takes at least 6 weeks to get things bid. And then you're having to bring on the contractor who now has to go acquire materials, and with material shortages, and that doesn't have the ability to pre-purchase some of those things. So the CMAR process allows you to have a contractor on board, working with them directly with the design to take care of engineering efficiency, some value engineering as we go along, so that when we get to the guaranteed maximum price, we know that that project can be built for the price and the money that the town can afford to do. And that's the benefit of the CMAR process. There's also built in the CMAR process specific costs and overhead costs, which is what helps protect the town against just awarding a project with no maximum, without a known price itself.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Preston, do you want to let the Meridian guys say a few words if they want?
Yeah, that'd be great. Mark, Tyler, would y'all like to say anything?
Yes, of course. Preston, thank you for having us here today. For everybody else, I'm Tyler Davis. I'm the Colorado area manager. This is Mark Sutton, president of Meridian. And then with us is Trace Musgrave, vice president of estimating. So again, thank you guys for having us here.
You're welcome. Welcome aboard.
We really appreciate the opportunity. We appreciate the mayor and council's time in considering our proposal. And we are absolutely committed to be good neighbors, good corporate citizens, respectful of all of the stakeholders. We know that there are a lot of things that we don't know yet in terms of stakeholders and access and the typical things that come up within a project. We pride ourselves on being able to find solutions, even with potentially adverse stakeholders. And we will do our absolute best to provide value engineering along the way. We do have a lot of experience, many years of experience, and we've seen many designs. And in order to be able to discuss those with the city, with the town of Ridgway and the designer, the construction manager, respect, we're absolutely confident that we can bring you a tremendous amount of value, that there's no question we get the job built on time. The comments from Alan and Preston were right on point. And, with all of the variables that exist out in the marketplace today, it's this actually locks a lot of things in and allows us to really get serious about being part of the best solution for the town.
That's great. Thanks for those words. It's a big deal for us. It's a major project, and it's great to have such a capable team on board to help us out with it. So anybody else have questions for them? Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
well, let's see if I can capture it correctly. I move to issue a notice of award for pre-construction services for the CMAR for the Beaver Creek Diversion Restoration Project to Meridian Contracting, Inc.
A second.
That's great. Motion by Terry, second by Beth. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Graham,
Aye.
Kroger,
Aye.
Montague,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln,
Aye.
Mayor Burke.
Aye. If I get a vote on this, I probably don't.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm
right.
trying to get the motion.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks, guys. We're really excited to get moving on this, and a lot of balls in the air, a lot of plates in the air. I hope we get a good summer to get this thing done.
We're excited as well and really looking forward to working with all of you and making sure that we address all the stakeholders' concerns with your guidance.
Right?
And we thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks again for being here.
Thanks for being here, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
I don't
All right.
know what suits or not.
All right. That takes us to item number 2, which is notice of award for professional architecture and engineering design services for the Ridgway Athletic Park baseball fields and pickleball courts. Preston?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Mentioned this item already. This is your more traditional design build kind of thing at the design phase, but you already mentioned it. The RFP for professional architectural and engineering design services for the Ridgway Athletic Park baseball fields and pickleball courts. That RFP went out in March, seeking proposals from consultants for the design of the new fields and the courts in general conformance with what we have depicted in the relatively new still Ridgway Athletic Park Master Plan. And just as a reminder, there's one full-size regulation high school baseball field, one softball/little league baseball field, and 8 pickleball courts depicted in that master plan document. Town received 2 proposals, one from DHM Design, same as it ever was kind of thing. Always interested in Ridgway. Peak Land Design, and costs were very comparable, right under the budgeted amount of $125,000. The committee reviewed proposals against the review criteria listed in the RFP. Based on the quality of the proposals, the selection criteria, results of reference checking process, an understanding of the firms and the relevant projects that they have completed. The committee's recommending that the town enter into a professional services agreement with DHM Design for this project. This company, as a lot of you know, based out of Durango, they've completed a variety of projects for the town over the last several years, including the athletic park master plan document, which you can find linked through the staff reports on the town's website as well. I mentioned this already. The project was budgeted for in this year's CIP, total amount of $125,000. Both proposals came in under just the budgeted amount. It's always tough when you get proposals right there close to each other, but all the more important to stick to the evaluation criteria that you list in the RFP. So that is the recommendation.
Great, thanks, Preston. Anybody have questions for staff on this?
Maybe it's in the actual proposal. What's the deliverable timeframe?
We don't really, I mean, the desire is to have the design, the construction level documents by year end. It's kind of what we've been communicating, or as we communicated to folks who had questions about the RFP, but the timeline in both those proposals indicated something, the deliverables that you're talking about, final products around November, December of this year.
Is it possible, not that we're going to budget for these in 2026, but thinking about how pickleball and baseball will approach us, even a general round number, like, because we're going to be asked, are you funding these in 2026 when budget time rolls around from our community partners on this?
Or at least the next phase.
I know that this is going to be a really large dollar amount.
To actually build them, yeah.
And so I just want to make sure that when we roll around to September, October, that we have some sort of frame for what is or is not happening in the next fiscal year.
And to that end, will the deliverable have the cost of the baseball fields 1 and 2 and pickleball separate, such that if we look at a phased build out, we'll have some different budget line items?
Yeah, we got to this point because pickleball and baseball got together and said it makes sense to only mobilize once. I'm not sold that that's a feasible answer for Ridgway.
Especially in light of the information we just approved. I mean, I'm aware that thank you for working so hard on all the grant funding and everything, but I think our monies are probably gonna be a little more tied up with water than with athletics.
So I'll just jump in real quick. Yeah, I mean, so remember that the project we were just talking about, that's water fund.
Yep.
The cost for this will be general fund.
Yep.
Beth, to go to the point you brought up first. I think it's just gonna take some continued conversations with the pickleball club and Ray County Baseball to understand where they're at with fundraising. You looked at the master plan document for both those baseball fields. It's $2 or $3 million based on what DHM produced in 2023.
Yeah,
High level, conservatively high cost estimate, right? Pickleball courts naturally not as expensive. But I don't even remember where that.
I want to say the
is
total was somewhere like in the 4.5 million range.
For
the whole, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's fair. So we're just gonna have to keep talking through it. Can the budget accommodate, the town underwriting that ourselves in 2026?
No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Nowhere close. And so that's why it's gonna be imperative that we keep having these conversations. Both groups are, doing really great work trying to fundraise the best they can. But I would, I'm not gonna be able to predict, but we're gonna be hard pressed to make those happen in 2026 without some significant contributions.
I would just.
Or grants.
I was just gonna say, I know we applied for a GoCo grant for the playground. When we get around to budget time, would we be better served to think about funding this ourselves and being aggressive about GoCo grants for like this project? Just thinking about the cross section of the community served by pickleball courts, Little League, high school, like girls, boys, adults, little kids, moving forward on the whole master plan. Just something to think about. If we were looking on the order of $100,000 here, that's a big number, but that's a much smaller number. And then putting our energies towards maybe some GoCo help.
And there's two other factors that will probably come out in the results of the deliverable is that, the issue around the staging issue. I think that was mostly proposed by the baseball folks, thinking the staging would have to occur for the civil works for the baseball field through the existing space that's allocated for the pickleball courts, which is mostly already graded and leveled and gravelled. If you look at the actual master plan, it's when we move the parking lot to the north, it frees up the space that's already effectively graded for the pickleball courts.
I mean, they have
So
some,
we'll have to see.
they have some points on economy of scale, mobilization and demobilization and all of that,
But
but
I think
I guess I'm just really concerned because both groups have been wonderfully committed to their vision. I think we're all aware of the reality of funding.
Well, the other thing is,
I mean,
the other quick point is that the pickleball folks seem to think that the estimate in the master plan was almost 2x what the reality would be.
Well,
That'll come out in the wash.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was just gonna add, you look at what happened with Cimarron Field. They did an amazing job of fundraising, and it may be that what they did will impact the availability of funds, other funds locally for these two efforts. But it did show that there's some serious money out there available for projects that the community is passionate about. So I think we just have to kind of play it by ear, and I think we'll know more as we get into budget season this year.
That's why budget season's so fun,
Yeah.
prioritizing and figuring out what to do.
I guess my question started with, even if we had a super high, hey, we took our numbers from the 2023 plan and plugged them into, supply costs, right? here's a new general-ish number for, I think it was, these were phases 2 and 3, or 2 and 4, I
Yeah,
think that we're
that's right.
combining. That dollar amount updated for 2025-26 would be very helpful in the fall. So as you're communicating, that was my point, just so we
That makes sense.
have something as a placeholder.
Yes,
Yeah. That makes a ton of
And
sense.
then-
And then,
yeah, it makes
real
sense.
quick, before I forget, Terry, you were asking about having them, it's not the right word, but parsed out in case the improvements don't all happen at the same time, baseball fields and pickleball courts, and that can be accommodated for, where you get a set for pickleball, or you get a set for the baseball fields, right, just in case.
One and two.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I imagine the civil works for the two courts, two baseball fields will be probably. There's probably economies of scale doing the civil works for that, because it's, if you know about that space, it's very undulated, it's gonna require a lot of fill and
Right.
scraping and stuff.
And there's some wetland delineation in the south east corner,
Yeah.
which will have to be, some mitigation measures will have to be taken into account based on that. It's not illegal to build like recreational fields or anything on wetlands. You just have to do some extra stuff.
Yeah. I know we've got some stakeholders on Zoom. I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions or weigh in if you want. If you want.
Yeah, hey, this is Clark.
Hi, Clark.
Hey, how y'all doing? I can tell you that the pickleball club is excited to see this first step getting kicked off, and looking forward to working with you where we can to get these specs nailed down. And also on the funding, I think those were very good questions on the funding, and we noticed, especially when it comes to the GOCO grants, that having some type of engineer's estimate, which I think is a deliverable early in this documents and the deliverables, is important to get that GOCO grant as a basis for what we're asking for.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thanks, Clark.
Yep, you bet.
Anyone else have questions? Tanya? Just
Nope, I'm
listening?
fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions from council for staff? Or are we ready for motion?
I'll move to authorize staff to enter into a professional service agreement with DHN Design for professional architectural and engineering design services for the Ridgway Athletic Park, baseball fields, and pickleball courts.
Second.
Polly.
Give it to Parks, Polly.
Motion by Terry, second by Polly. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Scrambley,
Aye.
Kroger.
Aye.
Montague. Skylar.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lakin.
Aye.
Great, passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. It's a big step. Two big deals today, and it's great to get them tied up for now.
It's not on the agenda. Can I edit?
What's that?
Are there minutes to approve?
No.
Special
It's just for the special minutes. Sorry, Terry, you had a question?
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but can I bring up the issue of whether or not a council person might be interested in doing the Mount 2030?
Oh, yeah.
So we have a registration is open for the next Mountain 2030 Sustainability Summit, which is going to be October 12th in Breckenridge. We have, by virtue of our participation as a founding member, 3 registration slots. John and I have expressed interest in going. We're going to approach the SAB to see if anybody else is interested. Thought we'd open it up to other council members to.
It's actually 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
So, sorry, 12th is when I'm heading to Portugal.
How are we not surprised?
I would be interested in joining.
Yeah. Okay,
We were looking at the registration and accommodations at the actual venue of the.
yeah, the goal is if we can sign up soon, we can get lodging in the hotel where they're going to be doing the sessions.
Where they're doing?
Breckenridge.
But will the hotel?
Oh, it's Alpen something,
Alpen.
Alpen Rock.
Sorry, I used to live there, so I was curious.
I don't know if it's new or what.
Does that sound familiar to you? I don't know Breckenridge.
Beth, did you look at the dates?
Yes, I know.
So
I advocated for some leave policy changes
Oh, good.
that are helpful to people who don't use sick leave.
you'll be able to do it.
I can't actually do it. Well, and the other thing with it being in BRAC is I can leave Monday evening. I don't actually or have to take Monday. It can be just Tuesday, Wednesday. When it was in Jackson, that really,
That was tough.
Yeah, that's-
really,
That was long.
that added days on either end and that made it impossible.
Okay. So let's get them booked. So 3 rooms then? I share a
Just
room.
one room.
Or Terry, I share a room with you if you want, but if you'd rather have your own.
We can do that. Yeah.
We'll do 3 separate rooms.
You didn't-
Okay.
you didn't snort that.
Whatever. I'm
All
just
three of you.
trying to save us some money. All right.
The next question along those lines is if there's an SAB member and we'd have to pay for registration, is there an appetite to do that?
We can do it.
Okay.
There's a budget item for that.
I think we paid for ours last time. This time we get 3. Okay, that's
All right, anything else?
That's from SAB.
Kevin, thanks for making this happen.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm glad I could join you guys.
All right, don't work too hard.
I'm trying. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
I will declare us adjourned.
We'll walk to the deck.
Bye, y'all.
Boy, these council meetings are easy.
Okay, here's to it.
Only 6 years.